This is Perch. Okay, you're new in comics. You've broken in. You've made it. This is your dream. You're a kid and you want to draw comics or write comics or letter comics. Are people? I have a lot of respect for letters. I don't. I doubt that many of them are like growing up. Age 8, thinking someday I'll letter comics. I mean that. I don't mean that. That sounds pretty negative, but I just, the letters do a hell of a job, and I think they do not get the recognition that they deserve. At the same time, it's hard to imagine that as a job that people would strive for. Anyway, that went this one off track very, very quickly. You got into comics. Good news. So, what are the classic mistakes that you can get yourself into? What are the things that put a dent in your career, make it hard for you to work with? I mean, outside the obvious ones, like getting arrested. That's gonna put a damage. That's gonna damage your career. What are the common things that I see that tend to hurt good careers right off the gate? The biggest one, and I think this is one of those that probably differs from what you might have heard other places, because the message is that the comic book community is just very tight knit. Everybody's friend, and they look out for each other. And when you come in, you're joining a family. You're not joining a business. But the biggest thing I see often is that either you get on the wrong side of kind of a clique, which is a little bit of why I think people are so terrified on social media of who they like and what they say where and all the rest, because they know that there are people who will come for you and make it. It's not like they whisk your job away. They just use their influence with editors and other places to make sure that you don't get called, and then you're struggling for work, and you're having to work 3 times as hard as someone else to get the same work. That's pretty common. But equal to that is the person who gets too quick at playing the game. And I think, relatively savvy people coming into comics, they will pick up on the fact that there are definitely cliques and there's definitely some, manipulation that goes on behind the scenes that's there. And some people will say, all right, this is Survivor. It's Game of Thrones. Let's go. Whose alliance am I on? I'm ready to play the game. And they're not good at it. They know what they saw on reality TV, but they're not particularly gifted at playing the long game and getting that influence before you start stabbing people in the back. They want to move right to Survivor, and you get your career capped very, very quickly. And I've seen this happen many times where somebody comes in and they're just a little too eager, a little too lean forward to get to the part where they betray their friends, and it's nobody trusts them. So you get isolated very, very quickly. I've seen this happen to a number of people who come in and they for whatever reason they think like the shenanigans they were doing on Twitter before they got into comics are going to work once they're in the quote unquote the business, and they play the game badly. Like I said, there are definitely games that get played. There's favors that are done. There's all this kind of stuff, but it happens very much. I don't want to say behind the scenes, but it's subtle. It's very, very subtle. A lot of tricks, like a writer who will be very selective of when they answer emails in order to manipulate kind of people around them, or an artist that will intentionally kind of figure out what cover somebody else is doing and kind of sabotage those efforts by doing a similar pose cover faster and kind of taking some of the heat away. I mean, there's those are two vague examples that are very much specific examples, but I don't want to just throw some people under the bus, but it is what it is. I think that very anxious play the game mentality is a career killer. If you come across as somebody who really is ready to play some politics, it turns people off in a hurry. You got to be subtle about that. The other one, and I've done several videos on this, but I can't stress it enough. It's the person. You're new to comics and you're going to your first convention, but this time you are not a fan. You're not a customer. You're in the business now. Your whole world has changed, and I think in their heads they view themselves as I am now George Clooney, and I am the person. I look at all the eyes on me, and the arrogance just washes off of them. And keep in mind, it's a relatively small field, and if there's one quick way to get ostracized within the community, it's give other people the feeling that you are better than them. Like, this is a very jealous community in a lot of ways, and if you come in and you act like a super big shot, people will line up to want to stab you in the back. San Diego Comic-Con several years ago, I remember a up-and-coming writer rents a convertible. Not just a convertible, but a super luxe convertible. They first of all, renting a car at San Diego Comic-Con is stupid on every level, just in general. Like, just take cabs. What are you do? You're not gonna enjoy the car experience in San Diego. But she rents this super deluxe car, and she rolls like she is a baller. And it was, the amount of smack being talked about this woman was intense. Like, who does she think she is? She's better than us. Oh, she must have gotten a big paycheck. She's blowing it all in this car. Oh, I see how it is. It was the jealousy and the just intense. And I saw a lot less coming out of her over the year and a half or so that followed. It's like it was remarkable how quietly she got pushed to the side. I think that it's also very common that people will play games and they believe they're being sneaky. They believe, like, a writer, and I've heard this about a couple different writers who will, basically kind of work the office and work the editors to get people off of books that they want. And the interesting thing about it is it becomes a very open secret that somebody's doing this. I think the individual may think they're playing the sneakiest survivor level game. I've got these alliances and nobody can see the backstab coming, and I'm going to blindside this person over here. But it is a relatively small community. Lots of people talk, and those sneaky moves often are very transparent, more transparent than you realize. And so, like anything, I think if you're trying to get a long career in comics, there is one surefire way to do it, and that's, put out good work. If you put out good work, even if you have, stumbles, even if you have ups and downs in your career, generally speaking, you are going to wind up okay. Even if, somebody screws you over here, maybe you get fired from this company or you're not getting work, then your talent will rise you up in another area. And being just good at what you do goes a long way. If you happen to find yourself being really good at what you do, then, consider very carefully if you always also want to play the politics. Because you may not, you may be a great artist, but you may be a very bad politician. And nothing is sadder than the person who is quite talented and winds up shooting themselves in the face because they're bad at politics. The best political strategy at times can be put your head down and get the work done. It's great to be known as somebody who's kind of sneaky and can get things done. I mean, if that's your brand, so to speak, that you want to accomplish, go for it. But the best brand of all is turns in work on time, gets paid, easy to work with, ask questions when questions need to be asked. I mean, that tends to be, if you can have that as your base platform, you're in good shape, as opposed to all of the quirky things. And I talked to Joe about this. It's very tempting to do the quirky things because you want to stand out. But if your quirky things are, drinks too much at cons, likes to, feel people up. There's an editor who got known for, being very good at getting their hand under the woman's butt before she sits down. So he kind of gooses her, and that was kind of his funny thing. Isn't it hilarious? It's hilarious. That kind of stuff can become your brand, and it may be quirky, but it's also the ultimate end of your career. Maybe not right away, but definitely over time. And so it's just that's kind of the key. I mean, just become known as the person who just gets their work done. That's a great place to begin. Get your work done, build from there. Be reasonable. Answer emails on time. Don't do things that are going to be weird. Don't do things, don't go onto Twitter and talk about excrement. Just be reasonable. Be somebody who the legal team never has to think about. I gave this advice at one point to an up and coming artist of like, I said, you know what you want to be? You want to be the person that lawyers never think about. It's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, lawyers will, often when you get hired to do something, they'll put your name, your information into a file. So they keep everything on file and they put it in the drawer. And your goal is to make it so they never go into that drawer again. Your goal is that they keep paying you, to keep getting work. Your goal is never that somebody's like, how do I get out of this contract? What was the our agreement that I had with this person? What was our royalty? What was, you don't want any of that to happen. Your goal is to sail unnoticed by legal. And if you can accomplish that, that's going to be a nice long career for you. That's the way you want to go. Anyway, there you go. Are there others? Are there other things that you want to do? It's kind of, the too long didn't read, and I realized it's at the end of the video, so I've screwed it all up, is don't be a nut. just come in and be a normal person and try and get your work done. And that's the best thing you can do for your career. You have your own thoughts. Leave them in the comments below. Very curious always to hear your thoughts. Like and subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. You might not be. YouTube's removed a bunch of people for mystery reasons. So by all means, check to make sure you're still subscribed. And thanks for listening.